Hi, I'm Ruth Pierce. I'm the relationship maximizer, and I'm talking all relationships when I say that. I help you take any relationship that's causing you pain to the next level, giving you insights that I've learned the real way. Through almost 50 years of marriage to the same guy, is our marriage perfect? Absolutely not. Are we still working on it? Yes. Marriage is a great training ground. Also, I have friends. And my relationships with my friends are always in flux. We're always trying to get them better. And yes, we are. And yes, sometimes with friends, you have to say, this one's not working and move on, don't you? And also, I was in HR, human resource management, for over 10 years, which gave me a front seat to what professional relationships work well or how they work well and how they don't. So, yes, I do want to use this time to plant seeds, plant transformational seeds in your relationships through the 5 principles of thriving relationships. This is the first one that we're going to talk about today. And yes, I did a mastermind on this earlier today, but I didn't want to send out that recording because people will talk about different things. This is just me doing the principles so that I can put it on public YouTube. Have I always been good with relationships? No. Just ask people who knew me, and they'd say no. I was passive, which meant passive aggressive, because you can't stay passive. Nobody can, even though we think we should. I don't believe that anymore. It will become aggressive. It'll either be passive aggressive, under the table aggressive, or outright aggressive. And neither one is pretty, is it? So I'm on my own journey. I'm on my own continuum in many areas of my life. And I know you are too. So if anything that I say today can help you further yourself on your journey, then I can look at it as a success. So let's get started. Let's get started with that first principle that I've learned the real way. And that is how important it is to genuinely love and value yourself. In fact, I like to say the degree in which you love and value yourself sets the thermostat for how high all your other relationships can go. Let me say that again. The degree in which I love and value myself sets the thermostat for how high all my other relationships can go. Now, with that in mind, what's your story with thinking that you're important or that you can value and love yourself? If you're like me, I was told that was selfish. Always put others in front of yourself. That's the way it's supposed to be. Were you taught that? It's a hard mindset or belief to break, isn't it? And on top of that, let's talk about that elephant in the room. We all know people who come across as very selfish, and we don't want to be like them. So how do we not? You want to know my thoughts on that? Yeah, there's going to be times as you continue on your journey, especially in the beginning parts, People are going to tell you you're selfish, but just continue to set the boundaries on what's important to you. And a healthy boundary, and I did learn this from boundaries in Doctors Henry Cloud and John Townsend. A healthy boundary is a fence that has a gate. And you open the gate to let the good in, and you close the gate to keep the bad out. But as you're learning, continue to set healthy boundaries with various ones in your life. And don't try to do it all at once. Take baby steps and celebrate those baby steps. Another thing, I don't want anything I say today to make you feel guilty, to make you feel condemnation. Neither one of those are good motivators. Recognize the areas where you want to change, where you want a new identity or a new mindset, and celebrate the changes that are happening. And I call this, I'm backing up here just a minute, I call this transformational seeds. Because, will you have transformation after listening to one of these presentations? No, they're seeds that need to be nurtured, need a good environment to grow. But the more you hear it, the more you work on it, it'll begin to sprout, and then it'll get bigger and bigger and bigger. We're building new thought patterns in the brain. And will you go backwards at times and go to your old patterns? Yeah, but I don't want you on a guilt trip because of that. Just say, no, that's not the direction I want to go. So get on the right path. It's like when you walk through a forest one time and there's no path, you can't tell the difference. But the more you walk that path, that same way, a path is developed. This is what we want for you. And if you get off that new path, just get back on it. Everything we're talking about today is a continuum where you have your very low self-esteem to very high self-esteem. Self-value, low self-value, high self-value. And we're going to go back and forth on that continuum, and it's okay. Just keep celebrating the progress forward. Make sense? Okay. I'm going to back up just a minute because I want to tell you a story. And it's a story that happened to me around 30 years ago. And I consider it my starting point for my own personal journey. Some things that happened at home where I wasn't asked an opinion on what I wanted to do, just decisions were being made. And yeah, I was hurt. It wasn't a big decision, but it was where it happened time and time and time again. And that builds up over time. I didn't try to address it. It hadn't helped in the past. So I just internalized it and sucked it in. I went to a meeting at church where a good friend of mine was there, a very discerning friend. After it was over, I thought I was hiding it pretty well. She stayed in the room after everybody left, though. She looked me in the eye and she says, Ruth, what's wrong? Nothing. I'm good. Ruth, what's wrong? Nothing. I didn't want to tell her. I was afraid it would ruin our friendship. I'm afraid she was going to put me on a guilt trip. And it would ruin our friendship. Ruth, I really want to know what's wrong. So I finally told her, with fear and trepidation. She looked me in the eye and she said, Ruth, that shouldn't be happening. You are important too. What? What did Martha just say to me? That I was important too? Aha. Okay. That was the first point that I can remember as an adult. Somebody saying that I was important too. And what she did in that one instance was give me permission to know I was important. But I had pushed myself down so much, I didn't know who I was anymore. So then I had to go on a journey to learn how to value myself, to learn how to love myself, and also to find out who the real Ruth Pierce was now. That was my first aha. And if you're struggling with the same thing of giving yourself permission to be yourself, I want to give you that permission today, just like Martha gave it to me decades ago. You have my permission to love and value yourself and to realize that you are important and to stand up for what you need and what you want. In fact, if you're ready to do that, if you're ready to accept that permission, are you ready to take this oath with me? And if so, raise your right hand and say, from this day forward, I give myself permission to love myself, value myself, find out everything I can about myself, and to forgive myself. Let's let that sink in for a minute. Now, as we go through the rest of this first principle of loving and valuing yourself in a deep, genuine way, I want to ask you this question. What would life look like if I truly loved and valued myself? There's all kinds of answers to this. And I want you to be thinking about those over the next several days, the next weeks, and maybe make a list. We're going to talk about some ideas that have come to me, but my list is not exclusive by any means. One of the surface ones, if I truly loved myself, would I eat as many desserts as I do now? If I truly loved and valued myself, would I make exercise more of a priority? If I truly loved and valued myself, would I set healthier boundaries with different relationships in my life? Don't try to take all these on at once. Just as they come to your mind, ask yourself that question and make baby changes in your life. I've been working on this informal assessment as far as where you are on your continuum of loving and valuing yourself. And I've got a cheat sheet in front of me of some of these ideas. And remember, it's a continuum. And we're going to go back and forth, where one side is very low self-value and the other one is really high. One of the basic questions that a lot of people will ask, and we all internalize, we ask ourselves these questions without really even realizing it. Am I enough? And do I have enough? And enough what? Time, money, skills, education, good looks, you name it. Can be fill in the blank for whatever you're thinking about. But if my value is low, my self-value is low, then that's a question that I will answer, no, I'm not. If my value is high from my core, because that's where the genuine one comes, is from your core. We talk a lot about this, a strong physical core. Now we're talking about a strong emotional or mental core of knowing who you are. And if it comes from there outward, then yes, you know you are enough and you know you have enough for whatever you're meant to do in this chapter of your life. The higher your self-value, the less you have to compare yourself to others. What happens when you compare yourself to others? It either says, I'm higher than you are, I'm better than you, or it's down here. And it's like, I'm lower than you are, I'm not as good as you. When your self-value is strong from your central core, that comparison doesn't have to be there. You don't care. You can celebrate when somebody else wins, somebody else does something great. You can celebrate with them because you know you are great too in your own way. And you don't have to compare it. You don't have to compete. When my self-value is high, I recognize that I'll make mistakes along the way, but I don't call them mistakes and I don't let them derail me. I call them learning experiences. I learn from them and then I move forward. If my self-value is high, I can forgive myself. I don't let things I've done in the past derail me and define me. I recognize they're part of my past, part of my experience. I learn from them and I'm moving forward. I'm comfortable in conversations. I'm not too quiet because I'm scared to express my opinions. That's not talking up in a conversation can be low self-esteem because you don't feel like you have something to say. Or it can go the complete opposite way, where you dominate a conversation because you're trying to prove who you are. You're trying to prove to yourself who you are. If my self-value is high, then yes, I participate in a conversation, but I include others in the conversation and pull them in if they aren't coming in on their own, because I want to learn from them too. If my self-value is low, there's a good chance that anger is going to be part of your behavior, part of your emotions. Because that's how it comes out. If your self-value is low, you're going to feel like you have to hang on to everything you have. So there's a scarcity mentality in every aspect of your life, not just with money, but with relationships, with time. And that's one of the reasons that as your self-value grows and expands, you're going to operate from an abundance or generous mentality. And as you fill up yourself from the inside out, it's going to naturally overflow to others. When you're just starting on learning this process, yeah, people are going to look at you and say, you're selfish. Why are you acting that way? But just keep on your path and let it overflow naturally to others. And we're all going to have triggers. Those were just a few of the ideas that I've come up with. I'm sure you can come up with tons more. So as you look at your life, do that. But back to triggers. Because of our past experiences, then certain things are going to trigger us and send us back into low self-esteem or lower on the continuum. And as we work on this, it won't send us quite as low as it did before, but we'll be able to come back up faster. Awareness is key. Awareness of where you are and why you're acting the way you are. As you build that self-value, that self-love, not just at a surface level, but from a core, how's it going to affect your world? What will it look like? Will you be more self-confident in all your relationships? At work, at home, with extended family, with friends? Yeah, I think you will. I don't just think you will, I know you will. Will you be able to express your needs and even your desires in a more confident way? Not an arrogant way. You don't want to come across as arrogant, but a confident way. So it's not needy, but it's not arrogant. Will your voice be more impactful? Yes. It makes a difference. Studies have shown that the confident person coming into the room has more of an impact than the one that isn't confident. So where do you want to go? What areas do you want to work on as far as loving and valuing yourself at a deeper level? Remember, the degree in which we love and value ourselves sets the thermostat for how high all our other relationships can go. So yes, I encourage you to be aware of where you are, and then move forward on that continuum. The first principle for thriving relationships is to love and value yourself.